Donald Trump has just lost the biggest revenge case he's ever brought against his famed opponent, former FBI Director James Comey, and the failure of that attempt is far more significant than the media is letting on. The case was completely tossed, and this isn't just about a procedural error. It's about the structural vulnerabilities in the US legal system that allow this kind of political weaponization to happen in the first place. We're not just discussing a single lost lawsuit today. We're talking about the total humiliating collapse of an attempt to build a political revenge machine using the very instruments of the state, the Department of Justice. It didn't just fail, it was obliterated by a decisive court ruling. Trump lost his effort to install a temporary compliant prosecutor to bring the case, and he lost a similar one against New York Attorney General Letitia James. This is a profound legal defeat. But here's the uncomfortable truth. This is no time for celebration. This ruling is proof that the legal system can still function as a firewall, but it also starkly exposes the deep, fundamental structural flaws that enable someone like Trump to inflict such pervasive, long-term damage before the courts can even catch up. I'm going to walk you through the specifics of the ruling and then show you exactly why a legal victory like this still represents a political and systemic failure in the grand scheme. If you want to understand how real power works, not through the calming narrative fed to you by cable news, then hit that subscribe button now. The core issue here wasn't a search for justice. It was the active, brazen execution of an enemies list. The targets, Comey and James, were not chosen randomly. They were chosen because they dared to confront the abuse of executive power. The prosecution team tried to use what they thought was a clever loophole. They were attempting to get around the fact that a Trump-appointed prosecutor had already reviewed the evidence and refused to sign off, finding the case defective. This is where the legal system's fundamental checks were supposed to operate. The appointment clause and the 120-day firewall. Let's get technical for a moment because the technicality is the firewall. We're talking about the Constitution's appointment clause. Why does the rule for temporary temp prosecutors exist? Because the founders, having just dealt with the king, understood the massive, frightening power of the state to prosecute and imprison its citizens. That power must be checked by the Senate. So a president can install a temporary prosecutor once for a grace period of 120 days. This is a deliberate, precise limit, a bulwark against the executive branch unilaterally staffing the DOJ with political loyalists forever. The sheer arrogance of the Trump administration was trying to use this loophole not once, but twice, installing Lindsay Halligan after the previous internal appointee refused to sign off. The court found Halligan's entire appointment invalid. The judge, citing the law, essentially said, you can't try to launch a rocket with a toy key. To be perfectly clear, the court's decision was that Halligan was not legally placed in her job, which means every action she took, including the indictment of Comey, was voided right then and there. The indictment was an unlawful exercise of executive power. The immediate legal fallout is where the rubber meets the road, and it reveals two distinct failures. Comey, a complete failure of lawfare. For the Comey case, this is game over, and it's due to a strategic self-sabotage. The law is not just about guilt or innocence, it is about time. It's the statute of limitations. Because Trump's team played games, delayed, and attempted to exploit this illegal loophole, they blew right past the deadline to bring a legitimate case. Some of you have asked, could the Supreme Court, SCOTUS, somehow reason themselves into thinking the DOJ acted in good faith to ignore the statute of limitations? The probability of that is effectively zero. Good faith doesn't exist here. The judge specifically cited political motives, including a deleted social media post regarding Pam Bondi, as evidence of the political nature of the prosecution. For SCOTUS to invent a good faith exception to a basic statute of limitations in this context would be to gut one of the most fundamental protections citizens have against perpetual political harassment. A.G. James, the lingering threat. The case against New York Attorney General Letitia James is different. It was dismissed without prejudice because Halligan was the wrong person to bring it, not because the deadline was missed. Could they refile the James case with a different lawyer? Technically, yes. But who is going to sign off on it now? The power to appoint the new interim prosecutor has now shifted to the district court, not the president. Any competent, nonpartisan, or career prosecutor appointed by the judiciary will have zero political motivation to pick up a weak, politically motivated case. The political pressure is off. The odds of finding an ethical, respected attorney to pursue this are now minimal. Accountability gap. What about the individuals? Will Halligan and Bondi be disbarred? This is a matter for the bar associations, and it's a question of professional ethics, not criminal law. Intentionally circumventing appointment rules could certainly lead to sanctions and disciplinary review. But the system of professional accountability moves at a glacial pace. We have to demand and monitor to ensure that flagrant abuses of power come with personal consequences, not just institutional ones. Many of you in the comments correctly noted that an analysis based purely on technical law is naive. Law, by its very nature, is a system designed to protect the status quo. We must look at the structural variables that allow political defeats like this to have virtually no impact on the political ecosystem. The legal system won a battle. The political system is still losing the war. The structure of impunity. The primary problem is that we've designed a system with glaring structural weaknesses that a determined amoral operator can exploit. Unlimited money. You allow unlimited dark money to flow into super PACs and campaigns, and you have essentially created a financial shield for political actors, regardless of their legal defeats. Billionaires and super PACs can financially bail out a politician no matter how many court cases they lose. The legal defeat is just a cost of doing business. Executive firing power. The president's broad power to fire public servants easily creates a loyalty culture within the DOJ. It allows them to purge ethical actors and hunt for compliant individuals like Halligan. This structural weakness, the lack of protection for non-political professionals, is the system's fault, not just the individuals. The consequence gap. Look at the past few weeks. Trump lost the DOJ case. He lost the bid to stop the Epstein files release, losing Republicans in Congress in the process. He lost the bid to stop 20,000 emails from being released. Yet, he has not been impeached, and he remains a dominant political force. The true firewall should be the political branch, Congress, not just the courts. The previous analysis suggested that judges are now feeling the temperature and starting to push back. I find that deeply concerning. Judges have lifetime tenure. They should not be feeling the temperature. The fact that they are now being forced to step in and apply the most basic constitutional law only demonstrates that the political crisis has become so acute that the judiciary is the only thing standing between us and total collapse. Do not be soothed by a small legal victory. We are trending toward authoritarianism not just because of one person, but because we have structurally designed a political system that enables him to do it. This ruling has successfully taken Comey off the enemies list, but it cost untold amounts of public time, money, and stress. This is an unacceptable waste of institutional resources. We must stop arguing over the individuals and start focusing on the structures that allow them to operate. We need a system reset. We must design better guardrails to prevent this kind of political weaponization, reforming campaign finance laws to limit dark money, super PACs, strengthening protections for non-political DOJ professionals, giving them a spine that the executive can't easily break, demanding that professional bodies like the bar associations move swiftly and decisively against clear abuses of legal authority. You are tired of seeing bad behavior continue every day. It will not end until you demand structural changes, not just single case legal wins. Don't accept the status quo. The law is a tool. Our job is to make sure that tool is used ethically or to replace it if it's designed to be easily broken. The judge did their job. Now, what is Congress going to do? Leave a comment and tell me what structural changes you want to see to prevent this abuse of power from happening again. Hit like if you're ready for a system reset. Stay informed.